or used to be, one of the most chaotic people alive, and I was raised to be a purist about a lot of things. But lately, I have found myself mellowing down and understanding the meaning of consistency. My whole life, people just told me, and a lot of advice just told me, just do it, just be consistent. And while that is great advice, I've always thought that seems like an oversimplification of things. What do you mean exactly? Can you explain it to me? Nobody could explain it to me, so I just asked my brain, who obviously didn't know. But in the last 2 years of making content on and off, I've had a lot of insights, and that is exactly what I want to talk about today and take you through the journey of how I am going from being a very proud, chaotic woman to somebody who wants to do more or less the same thing every day without losing her creative spark. Hi and welcome to another episode of Notes from a Desi Girl. My name is Marasi, or as an email typo once said, Masani. Well, let's start at the beginning. I've been told all my life that I'm lazy, inconsistent, indisciplined. And I didn't have much of a choice but to believe that. But then again, the discussion kind of ended there. It was such a clean way to define someone like, yeah, you're just inconsistent, you're indisciplined, and you're lazy. That's never going to change. But you can change if you gaslight yourself. That's what behavioral therapy is about. In the past 2 years, a lot of things happened and I started creating content. And here we are. After about 2 years of going on and off, there were a lot of realizations and insights I had. I have been trying to solve the biggest puzzle of my life. What do you mean when you say just be consistent? There is a lot going on in my head as an overthinker, as a procrastinator, as someone who is afraid of a lot of things or who was taught to be afraid of a lot of things. And I want to sort of lay that out there, lay it bare on a table and understand these things so that I might understand the meaning of what consistency means to me as well. Because I think it means slightly different things for all of us depending on how we live and where we are from. Let's talk about procrastination. You know what life has really been about for me? If I have 2 months to do one thing, I will take a look at it, like a brief look at what I'm supposed to do. And if I can do it in like a week or so or like 3 days, I will do nothing for a month and a half, maybe even 2 months. And I will only fire up when the deadline is right here. The worst thing is it has always worked for me to do it like that. Urgency was the only thing that would drive me, but this was external urgency. A deadline or a boss saying, hey, you kind of have to do this. Or just like a milestone that life set for me, the way education and work and promotions and all happen with milestones in our life. And I was like, I guess this is me now. That's what life is about. Chilling for a month and a half and doing everything in the last 8 hours. I have always gotten away with it. With creative work though, it was different. Creative work is not exactly milestone based. It's more like it's eternal. You just have to do it. It's more of a lifestyle. You don't have a choice but to view it as an ocean of things, or like a garden rather of flowers that you occasionally harvest. There's so many different metaphors, I don't know which one to focus on. And so I believed that urgency was the only way to get something done for a person like me and that it was set in stone. How could I possibly change that, right? Now, what content creation of vlogging or podcasting has done is that it has forced me to identify what is the least effort thing I could do this week or this day. And in the past few months, I tried to do that. Why? Because there were so many months where I did nothing and the ideas kept coming anyway. You know how people talk about the flow state? I was in this weird overflow state, and it sounds like a bit of a brag, I know, but this is something that I couldn't help because as Oprah said, I wasn't silent for 25 years. I was silenced, right? From a lot of external factors. So when I finally decided, hey, I don't need to be silenced, I can just say things and make content or make vlogs out of what I do or what I think, a lot of ideas from the past 20 years of having been silenced just kept showing up. It wasn't my choice. All of these ideas still keep showing up. And there were months where I did nothing about it, and there were months where I wanted to execute 5 ideas in a day. I always operated in these two extremes. There was no concept of gray or middle ground for me in terms of my creative work. The more I did that, something weird happened. With all this data collection in the last 2 years, when I executed ideas, I got more. But when I didn't execute ideas, when I did nothing for like 3 months straight, something was still brewing in my mind. Some little insight or a tiny conversation or a tiny phrase that could become a conversation with a friend, it always happened. You know how you can always somehow talk to your friend for at least 2 minutes about nothing at all? That kind of thing started happening to me. I was like, I guess I had an insight yesterday, but then I didn't write it down. It's lost. And this happened so many times when I didn't do anything because I was procrastinating. I was like, whatever, I'll do it the day the deadline comes. But the nature of creative work is you aren't just executing one version of an idea you have. An idea, I believe, is going to be there throughout your life. For example, identity. What does identity mean to you? That's like a common theme for a lot of us millennials, right? So every single day, I have had a different insight into this. Who am I today? Or who am I a month from now? Or who am I 10 weeks before I turn 30 or 3 months before I turn 30? Who was I at 28 years old? If every single day I'm having a slightly different realization, after a while of not writing them down or not putting them out there, I started grieving the loss of all these little insights. They weren't better than the one I had today. They weren't extraordinary or anything. They were just different. I was like, I could have had a bouquet of flowers if I had plucked them. It would be different flowers. But now I just have like the one idea that I said I would do on Friday. And so that urgency thing I talked about, weirdly, it's still a form of urgency. But what has changed is my relationship to time. Stay with me. As an overthinker and as a procrastinator, we often think about, 5 months from now or 3 years from now. We always try to think of the big grand picture. Like what will happen when I will be this. And I have had a tendency to outsource work to that future perfect me. Oh yeah, she'll do that when she's 5 months later, everything will be perfect, which it often isn't because life happens. What has happened is because of all these little insights I ignored, I used my overthinking powers and I started thinking more about tomorrow me rather than 6 months from now me. What's incredibly insightful for me here is that 6 months from now me is not relevant to me. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe we could have another, God forbid, another COVID or anything could happen, right? Maybe a loss of a loved one, I don't know. But what I kind of reasonably know is that in the next half hour or in the next 3 hours, if I'm just staying in this room and hanging out, I'll be more or less the same. So I'm still overthinking a bit, but I'm using it to think about me in a context that is more relevant and that matters more. 6 hours from now me is a lot more relevant to me than 6 years from now me or 6 months from now me. And 6 hours from now me is not perfect. She's just me. She's just like hanging out. However, the insights I have right now or today are precious because they have an expiry of like 12 to 15 hours, the hours that we are awake. If I don't capture those insights, as proved, they will be lost forever and I will grieve them. The grieving has become so painful and it is so much work to always like regret that why didn't I do this at the time, that I might as well just do it right now. To be specific, my floor that I identified was that for 2 minutes a day, I guess I could record. 2 minutes can turn into 10 minutes, can turn into 18 minutes if I'm really feeling it. And if I'm not, then it's just 2 minutes, like a, hey man, this happened kind of thing. The more I've done it, and the more I thought like, I have nothing to say today, and I kind of recorded anyway, like I was just blabbing about the one issue, like immigration limbo is something I could talk about forever because it's something that's happening to me and I have no answer for it. But then I was like, but every single day I had a slightly different insight on that immigration limbo or an explanation for it or just who I am inside of it. I'm a different person inside of it every single day. I have a slightly different personality every single day. And I have begun to appreciate those little personalities. So wanting to capture them has come from my relationship with time that has changed. With me thinking in today rather than one day, which is always something that perfect me could do. There is no better me, there is no perfect me. I'm starting to realize that. It could be that my prefrontal cortex, as they say, is developing and that I'm finally like a full adult now. Or it could just mean that the 2 years of data collection is kind of starting to pay off, because now I see patterns. Now I see the one thing that I most regret, to be consistent for the last 2 years. And this thing that I'm doing to be less scary than that regret thing. So I might as well just execute it. Now, what you do with your creative work that originates in your mind is not that different from what you do with your body in the gym to take care of it. What happened to me last week, especially because of which I started having these realizations, is that I went to the gym. My neck was a little stiff. It could probably be from all the heel and leash walking training I'm doing for my pup. But because of that, I did a sudden movement in the shower and this thing started having these spasms. And this has happened before. That day, I really wanted to go to the gym, which doesn't happen often, but I couldn't because I couldn't risk it getting worse and it coming back. So I had to go to wait for a physiotherapy appointment to kind of set it straight. So it's not that my football career is down the drain or has taken a massive hit from my ACL tear. Not really. It's not that kind of an injury, but it's still something inconvenient instead. And I realize the more it's happening, it's first because I am not taking as much care of myself with stretching, and second, I am aging. I am I'll be 30 soon. So these things are going to happen. Little things in my body are going to either slow me down or just be inconvenient. That means I was taking this for granted. Not only was I taking my ideas for granted, I was taking my body for granted too. I connected these things together. Like that workout that I could have gotten with the way my legs would have hurt after was so precious to me that I couldn't get. I was like, I'd much rather just take care of every single body part, my neck, my hands, I couldn't wait to get better just so I could go to the gym, which is weird because I'm kind of a little bit lazy and I don't always want to go to the gym. But once I'm there, I'm fine. I never want to get through the front door. These two realizations swirled in my head like, wow, I've been taking these things for granted. Every single day of being a slightly different, quirky person, it's not to be taken for granted. This is how I'm understanding or just starting to understand the meaning of consistency. That urgency I mentioned before from external factors is not playing as much of a role because weirdly the urgency is still there, but it's about the 24 hours later me, or the me today is never going to be me 3 months from now. And I am starting to see it as precious. You know how we never remember what we ate for dinner last Thursday or something for lunch? It was, as long as it was mundane. Yeah, but one day I'm gonna want to know. And I don't like not knowing. I don't like missing out on things. So maybe this whole thing has just been FOMO. So me today, or my ideas today, whether I have them or not, is not something I can revisit later. It quite literally, me taking the opportunity of diving into my mind is something that expires at 6 o'clock today, because after 6 o'clock it's more chores and some gym time or giving time to my pup. After 6 o'clock, my time is not mine. I give it to the people that I'm responsible for. So it expires at 6 o'clock, and weirdly also like the sun streams into this room, so I can't record. So I only have this time. It's an opportunity I can only take today. And I don't like missing out on opportunities anymore. What I like about this is I'm not changing who I am. I guess I'm still using my overthinking powers. I'm just using them to work for myself. I'm using them for today, not for one day. That is a reframe I did not expect to stumble into. But a neck injury and 10 minutes of just doing the thing and seeing the different flavors of the same idea I could generate was really interesting to me. And if there's anyone out there who has never truly understood what they mean when they say just do it, just be consistent, on this channel, I am going to break it down for years to come. Every single day, I feel differently about consistency and discipline. And every single day, I think that insight or thought is precious. The more I would love to read about this. So I've just been writing it down so that I could have something to read about. But this is just the beginning of me trying to understand this rather complex stoic concept of consistency. And me recording this is me doing my part into this, what I can do today. I want anyone listening to understand that if you can't just willpower your way into something, you're not broken. I don't think that that's how we should ever look at it. It just means that for whatever reason, you weren't able to see it that way, or you weren't able to live that way. Sometimes life doesn't let us just be. Sometimes the other factors in our life are so loud that you just cannot execute something like you said you would for months. But it's not exactly about whether you can execute it every single day like people say you should. It's more about, do you keep coming back to it, or have you in some capacity been able to come back at it after the regret of not having done it for a long time? Because that regret, that exhaustion from missing out has not driven me, but just created this clarity in my mind like, wow, it wasn't worth it to miss it. Whatever it is, I might as well just do it. So this is where I end my thoughts for today. I'm gonna sit down and polish these thoughts into more of a Substack essay. I also write a bit more on Substack of what I wouldn't normally say on a podcast, because some topics are just better written down. If you're interested, go check it out. But I won't tell you what to do. Like, you're fine, you do what you want. I'm just saying, if you're interested, it's there. So we are gonna end with this for today. Thank you for listening, and I will see you soon.